So you may be asking yourself, why has Craig Reed gone full pre-supper butthole? You weren't asking yourself that? Well, one girl called me that on Twitter. She hasn't watched any of my videos, hasn't read any of my tweets, and she was involved in a thread. She goes, Craig is a pre-supper butthole. Who cares what he thinks? So I decided to carry the label as a badge of honor. Yes, I've gone full pre-supper butthole. Why have I done it? Because the metaphysical a priori assumptions are the entirety of the ballgame. They are actually really what is going on beneath the surface between the atheist and the theist. And they're really important. And furthermore, if you ascribe to the metaphysics that there are no metaphysics, it doesn't work. Why? Because your brain trucks them in automatically. You smuggle them in automatically. You presuppose things automatically. Why? Because your brain is trying to make coherent sense of the world. All metaphysics is a branch of philosophy which means the nature of what things are. But let me ask you a question to show you what I mean. Let me ask you, think of the answer to this question. What's the top speed of a train? Okay, answer the question. You automatically presupposed that I meant traveling over the ground relative to the earth. Correct? Why'd you do that? You did the key is that you did that automatically without thinking about it. You just smuggled in a metaphysical presupposition about what I meant. Why? To make coherent sense of the question. As it turned out in that instance, you were correct. That's normally speaking what somebody means. When they say like how fast a car growing, they mean relative to the earth traveling over land. So in that sense, it helped make the question coherent. That's why you do it. But oftentimes they are deeply misleading and you do them automatically. So for example, in science, you have what they have labeled the measurement problem in physics. Did you hear that? The measurement problem in physics. You know what that is, right? Okay, look at all the presuppositions being smuggled in there that actually are deeply misleading. First of all, it is presupposing someone in a lab coat taking a measurement. That need not be the case. And it is also presupposing a problem. Again, that need not be the case. Both of those things were smuggled in and they are misleading. So when Carlo Rovelli was working on what he calls quantum theory, okay, Carlo Rovelli, if you do not know, I mention him a lot in my videos. He's possibly the greatest physicist alive today, but he's also really good at philosophy. Part of the reason why quantum mechanics has thrown scientists for so long is at the same time in the 20th century, around 1920, scientists have had this philosophy that they don't need philosophy. I swear to God that's true, guys. And the metaphysics, that we're done with metaphysics. Why? We're scientists. We don't do philosophy. That's for guys in togas from 2,000 years ago. We're scientists. We're too smart for that. The problem is you have to do metaphysics. Why? Because if you don't do them, they get smuggled in automatically. So there's a metaphysic right there. In order for Carlo Rovelli to think clearly about what is happening in quantum mechanics, he had to deconstruct. He had to think of it from different angles. Why? Because how it was being presented was automatically misleading him. A measurement problem in physics. It's not a measurement problem. It's how properties interact at the quantum level. The only way we find out about them is to take a measurement, but it's not a measurement problem at all. It's not even close. This is how properties interact at the quantum level. So he tells you he had to deconstruct quantum mechanics and think about it from different angles. And he'll say that there are three things going on in quantum theory, his version of quantum theory. Three things in operation: probability, granularity, and observability. Observability is really the one that throws everyone. And then it leads to all these philosophical questions that can take, days to sort out between different scientists. What is the nature of an observer? Now, he came to a conclusion. And when scientists were thrown by quantum mechanics, it's not actually, they say quantum mechanics is so trippy and so weird. It's not actually all that trippy and weird. It just annihilates materialism as a candidate option, period. And that had been the ongoing metaphysical presupposition of almost the entirety of the scientific community for the last 300 years. They think physicalism/materialism is synonymous with science. If you ask Sean Carroll today, are you a scientist? He will literally answer you. I've heard him answer this. Literally answer you, yes, I'm a physicalist. Why? Because I'm a scientist. He thinks they're synonymous. They aren't. And the reason why Carlo Rovelli's particular interpretation of quantum mechanics, relational school of quantum mechanics, has been so slow to catch on is because it annihilates materialism as a candidate option. And people are unwilling to give up their metaphysical presupposition about physicalism/materialism. Promise. This, according to Carlo, this wasn't what I intended to make the video about, so I'll try to make this brief. I've talked about this in other videos. But this, according to Carlo Rovelli, is what quantum mechanics teaches us about the nature of reality. And if you're an atheist, you're about to say, authority fallacy. It's not a fallacy. That's a really dumb thing to say. Everything you have ever learned about physics, you've learned by virtue of authority, period. You read a physics textbook, that's an authority. You go to a physics class, that's an authority. This is not an authority fallacy. This is an appeal to an authority. This is asking you to consider what the greatest physicist alive has to say about physics. Why? Because he's an authority on the subject. And his opinion on the matter kind of holds a lot of weight. So this is what he will tell you. Quantum mechanics teaches us about the nature of reality. One, granular, meaning everything can be, everything can be reduced to its smallest possible component and smallest possible measurement. Two, probabilistic, probabilistic, indeterminate. Okay, I'm not 100% sure that Carlo Rovelli is completely right on that one, because there's the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, but I myself have come to the conclusion that that is not epistemic uncertainty, that is not ontological indeterminacy, it is epistemic indeterminacy. Don't really want to get into it, but this is a totally different thing. Just in brief, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle says you can't, if you know the position of the particle, you can't know the momentum, and vice versa. But that's not actually an ontological statement. It's kind of like saying, if I'm looking in the kitchen, I can't know what's in the living room. It's an epistemic statement. It's correct. It's as if you were to take the position of a particle, you freeze the momentum to zero temporarily. Why? To get the position. And if you're seeing how fast something is going, you can't know the position. Why? Because it's moving. So it's an epistemic indeterminacy, not an ontological indeterminacy. That's my own thing. Maybe someone would debate that, but it's irrelevant. Why? Because it's not relevant to what we're talking about. The third thing annihilates materialism as a candidate option. This is Carlo Rovelli, the greatest physicist alive today, says that what quantum mechanics teaches about the nature of reality at the quantum level is that it is relational. Bang. End of materialism. No longer fits. Doesn't fit the data points. And he's correct. I think he's correct. What does it mean? It means at the macro level, properties hold their values. So when you say the real world has standalone ontology, what you mean is, there's a steel desk in front of me. I go to bed at night. The steel desk is still there. I wake up in the morning. It's still there. It's standalone ontology. It is there. It is there. Has ontology independent of what I do. Correct? At the quantum level, that is not true. Bang. Physicalism is over, because that is clearly not true at the quantum level. The properties of that steel desk are relational in nature. They are relative properties. They interact with the environment. That is why quantum mechanics threw everybody. Because it's not that it's a problem, it's that it's not what they were expecting to find, and it shattered their preconceived notion about how the world actually is. And it's taken them 120 years to recover from that. Why haven't they recovered yet? Because they're lousy at philosophy. Because you have to do metaphysics in order to perceive that clearly. Why is Carlo Rovelli starting to get it? Because he's a good philosopher. He had to deconstruct quantum mechanics in order to perceive that clearly. Does that make sense? Do you get it? I admit I didn't say that all that clearly in this particular video, but that's not the point of this video, so let's move on. I'll go into that in depth in videos to come, but it's a slam dunk. It is a slam dunk. Materialism is over. End of discussion. Why quantum mechanics annihilates it as a candidate option. If you ascribe to Carlo Rovelli's relational school of quantum mechanics, yes, it does. And I ascribe to it. Why? Because it's easily the most parsimonious explanation of the data points. You don't need hidden variables. You don't need invisible many worlds, all these invisible worlds that nobody can see. You don't need any of that stuff. What's the price of the parsimony? Is that properties are relational at the quantum level. They interact, which means they have no real standalone ontology, which means the measurement is, technically speaking, different depending on who's measuring and where they're measuring it from. It's relational. Reality is contextual. There is an intrinsic ontology to something and a context-based ontology to something. The context-based ontology shifts. It might be too complicated for this video. I'll go into videos to come. That was too much. I apologize. Too much, Greg. My head hurts. I'm sorry. I apologize. Moving right along. It's not the point of the video. It's really not the point of the video. I just kind of, couldn't help myself. All right. So the point of the video is this. Metaphysical a priori assumptions are the nature of the ball game. Your brain does them automatically. As I pointed out, When I ask you how fast is a truck going, you automatically presuppose I mean relative to the earth traveling over land. Carlo Rovelli points this out really well. He holds up a pen. You metaphysically ascribe, it is a set of properties he's holding in his hand. It's not necessarily a pen, it's just a set of properties. We ascribe it a metaphysic. What is that? It's a pen by virtue of its functionality, right? Why? So we can differentiate it. So we can make coherent sense of the world, as opposed to a table, which is a different set of properties, right? Technically speaking, literally, they're both just sets of properties. Why are we ascribing metaphysics to them? To make sense. Okay? We ascribe this thing, pen, by virtue of its functionality. It writes on a piece of paper, and that's a desk. We can put the pen on the desk. For everyone following me so far? For a while, the 20th century, science had said, we're done with metaphysics. That's why this is relatively important. Actually, it's really important. It's the entirety of the ballgame. That's what scientists have said for a long time. Originally, Humean skepticism morphed into skepticism about what? Metaphysics. The problem is you can't not do metaphysics. You can't. Why? You can't make coherent sense of the world without them. Which brings us to why I have gone full-on presuppositional apologetic butthole. There's a reason I've gone presupp. Butthole sounds like a pejorative, Craig. Okay, fine. A little bit, but it's a pejorative you're using on yourself, Craig. So it's a little weird. Okay, fine. Like I said, it was originally meant as a diss. I take it as a badge of honor. Stephanie. Yes, Craig. Gear up. Fall in. We're going to send you out. I don't get it yet. I understand that. As soon as you get it, I'm going to send you out. You're going to annihilate everybody. Why? Why, Stephanie? Because they'll never see you coming. To go, oh, Stephanie, ha, 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 she's so dumb. Ha, 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 can't, laughing my ass off. Oh, my God, can you believe what she said 5 years ago, that one time in that one debate about, I swear to God, that's a knock on Stephanie. Well, 4 years ago, she did this. She must be the worst person ever. So I'm going to send you out. They'll never see you coming, Stephanie. I swear to God, they'll never, because they'll be laughing the whole time. Here's Stephanie. Okay, 1, she's a Christian, ergo she's stupid. 2, it's Stephanie. Ha ha, laugh my ass off. Oh my God. Ha. Stephanie, can't even believe it. 3, you're going to announce to them all, I'm doing presuppositional apologetics. And they're all going to be like, when they're laughing, you can take a piece of humble pie, and they're going to go, pow, right in your stupid ugly little face. Pow. Just like that. Just like that, Stephanie. Good girl. Pow, right in your stupid ugly little face. Now, originally I had her saying, right in your fat, stupid ugly little face, but we both realized that would be fat shaming you, so we decided not to do that. We apologize for fat shaming a lot of you guys in the audience. Yeah, you can stand to lose a few for sure, but far be it from me or Stephanie to fat shame you, Tubby. you double hard. All right, moving right along. Now, if you watch the Jay Dyer Matt Dillahunty debate, what's interesting about the debate is Jay Dyer won. What? Yeah, he did actually, but he didn't take the victory. He snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Why did he do that? Because Matt Dillahunty agreed. There are 2 versions of the presupp argument. Okay, there's the more ambitious version, which is God is the precondition of intelligibility. Doesn't quite work. I've already made the really hilarious joke. I don't remember if I posted the video, so I'll make it again. It's really hilarious. Trust me. Trust me, it's a killer. It's great. Luke, you're an atheist, right? Yeah. How do you justify your atheist worldview? Eggs are green, Shaka Khan, wanna love you, wanna squeeze you too, eggs are green. Okay, Luke, that's unintelligible. Get it? It's unintelligible. Okay, moving right along. Moving right along. Okay. It was funny, trust me. It was funnier. All right. It was funny in my head. No, okay. So it's a stupid joke, I understand. But the joke is, obviously, Luke can make coherent sentences, so God belief is not the precondition of intelligibility. But Jay Dyer did, in fact, win the debate. Why? Because Matt Dillahunty does acknowledge openly, okay, yes, the laws of logic exist, and they are immaterial, invisible, transcendent, and inviolate. Bang. We got us an atheist. Looks like we caught ourselves an atheist, Stephanie. We got him, Craig. We nailed him. I'm going Old Testament on him too, as we speak. Good girl. We nailed him. How'd we nail him? Okay. How'd we get him? We really got him? You sure? Because so far it doesn't compute, but I believe you. Okay, so we slammed you in your face. In your face. In your big fat face. All right, calm down, Stephanie. How did we get him? Because why did Matt Dillahunty agree that the laws of logic exist? And they are immaterial, invisible, transcendent, and inviolate because it is the precondition of intelligibility. Oh, bang! Oh, gotcha! Oh! So, J. Dyer throws a whole bunch of transcendental categories out. The arguments are traced back to Kant, and he has transcendental categories. J. Dyer throws in the beginning statement about 10 out. Don't use all 10. If you strip his argument down to just a much less ambitious version, and if you're an atheist, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, JB, deep breaths. I'm not proving the sky fairy. Oh, phew. Oh, phew. Thank God, Craig. Yeah, hold on to your tithes. Keep your tithes sheathed temporarily. This is not necessarily an argument for the existence of God. So relax. You're getting all geared up. It's not necessarily an argument for the existence of God. Why is it a slam dunk? Is because the less ambitious version of the argument, the logic is pristine. J. Dyer won the debate if he had stuck to the scaled back, less ambitious version. Matt Dillahunty admits the laws of logic exist. They are immaterial, invisible, transcendent, and inviolate. Why does he do that? Because that is the precondition of intelligibility. So let's take it in science. So let's only use two transcendent categories, math and logic. And the better one is math. You cannot do science without math, correct? Everybody correct? We're all on the same page? Everyone, hello, out there? We're all on the same page, right? You cannot do science without math. Okay, you have to assume the mathematical axiom in order to use the mathematical axiom. There is a proof for that. Matt Dillahunty mentioned it when he was analyzing his debate. I think there is a proof for the laws of logic. It's a proof for math, but it's the same idea. You have to assume the mathematical axiom in order to use the mathematical axiom. That is Gödel's incompleteness theorem. Why do you have to do that? Because it cannot be empirically verified for. The presuppositional argument, the less robust version, is pristine logic, the less ambitious version. Why? Because there are certain things that are the preconditions of intelligibility. And the argument is structured this. X is a necessary precondition of Y therefore X. Okay, it doesn't work with God. Because you're not presupposing God. I mean, it does work, but you are asserting God. They got into a thing, so Matt Dillahunty agrees the laws of logic exist, and they are transcendent, immaterial, and inviolate. That's really important. He's already giving us everything we need. Because my version of the argument is not to turn an atheist into a Christian. It's to turn a dumbass atheist into a philosophical atheist. That's it. That's all I'm trying to do. That's my version of the argument. Why? Because I can work with the philosophical atheist. That's it. The philosophical atheist is closer in spirit to me than to Aaron Ra. And if you deconstructed once upon a time, you deconstructed from your church, okay, keep going. That's it. That's all it's telling. Take your metaphysical a priori assumptions out into the cold light of day and examine them. That's all the argument is asking you to do. Are they coherent? Are they robust and defensible? Do they make sense? You can say, I don't know. The reason why these arguments get a bad rap is people do them poorly. First of all, let's go back to Jay's. Jay did not technically win that debate. Why? Because Matt Dillahunty agreed to the less robust, the less ambitious version of the argument. Why? Because it is the precondition of intelligibility. You followed that, right? One more time. Why is it the precondition of intelligibility? Even as an atheist, you must at least be a nominalist. What does that mean? I nominally ascribe, with certain qualifiers and preconditions, reality to the transcendent realm. Why are you doing that? It is the precondition of intelligibility. Promise. The logic is pristine and irrefutable. The jig is up, the game is over. Now, I did not prove God. I did not prove God. Did he prove God? No, I didn't prove God. Take a deep breath. I think he might have proved. I didn't prove God. He might have that time. I'm going to go to hell for listening to New Kids on the Block. That's a whole bunch. The reason why I keep bringing that up, playing around with that, is because that's a huge point of what's going on. If you water down the version of what Matt Dillahunty already agreed, the laws of logic exist, they're immaterial, inviolate, transcendent. Okay, then J. Dyer goes on to try and say the necessary precondition of that is God. And more precisely, the Eastern Orthodox version of God. I swear to God, that's how he moves the argument. Then the argument doesn't work anymore. And then you start getting into a debate that Matt Dillahunty starts on more firmer ground. He starts arguing correctly. I'm not aware that I do need to justify the laws of logic. And he doesn't. Why? Because we presuppose them. Why are we presupposing them? Because they're the precondition of intelligibility. That's why we presuppose a mathematical axiom. Why? Because we can't do science without it. But it is the precondition of intelligibility. So those are the only two. if you fashion the argument down to just those two transcendent categories, they are the preconditions of intelligibility. That's rock solid and irrefutable logic. So even an atheist, even Matt Dillahunty, must nominally ascribe reality to the transcendent realm somewhere along the way with these pre-qualifiers and these preconditions. So he has to dip his toe a tiny little bit into the transcendent realm somewhere along the way. Why? It's a precondition of intelligibility. Now, if we were to be ambitious, could we turn that into a argument for God? Maybe. With the Jay Dyer, Matt Dillahunty debate, it just started to become a thing on that. Matt Dillahunty, you can't justify you're using the laws of logic, but you can't justify them. Okay, but that's actually the point. He doesn't have to justify them. Why? You have to presuppose them in order to use them. So Matt Dillahunty was essentially correct. He uses the laws of logic. Why? Because they work. He does have to presuppose them in order to use them. That's Gödel's incompleteness theorem. Why is he doing that? Because of the precondition of intelligibility. But in the meantime, we got us an atheist. Why? Because he nominally ascribed reality to the transcendent realm. The reason why there is a debate over math, the reason why there is a debate over laws of logic, is because technically speaking, they don't exist. Yeah, okay. What? Huh? What? They don't. They have no spatial, temporal locality. So in a certain sense, if you want to get really literal about it, they don't exist. Now, we go back to metaphysics again. Why? Because a lot of times atheists think they're being really smart when they're being really dense. The metaphysics of no metaphysics has been the problem the entire time because it cannot be done. You presuppose metaphysics all the time, even if your metaphysical ideas, there's no such thing as metaphysics. Why have they been given a bad rap? Because scientists have put them in the realm of speculative. We don't do that. We don't do metaphysics. That's philosophy. That's speculation. We do science. We only deal with facts, empirical facts. And they only mean empirical. Now, there's a whole line of argumentation that Jay Dyer is 100% correct about that shows why that is incomplete. It doesn't work. Why? Because we do need to presuppose certain things in order to do the science altogether. We do need to presuppose. Can you turn it into an argument for God? That's me struggling to think. Sounds like you're constipated, Craig. Okay, maybe. A little bit. Yeah, okay, granted. The reason why this is a slam dunk, okay? It's a slam dunk. Trust me. I'm not saying it all that well in this video, because it's early Saturday morning, and I'm a little ranty. I'm kind of ranting a little. Really. Haven't sung any songs yet, I don't think. But the argument's a slam dunk. And more precisely, it is only demanding so much of the atheist. Take your metaphysical a priori assumptions out in the cold light of day and examine them. Are these robust and defensible? Are they coherent? Do they make sense? Why is this a slam dunk? Because philosophical, intelligent atheists are doing this already. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. Oh. Yeah. Oh. It's a slam dunk. Why? Because the intelligent atheists already do this. The first time I heard about Thomas Nagel's What It's Like to Be a Bat, I asked myself, okay, that's really interesting. How is that guy still an atheist? So I went to see how he justifies still being an atheist. He's a Neoplatonist of sorts. Okay, what does that mean? He is nominally ascribing reality to the transcendent realm with these certain pre-qualifiers and these certain preconditions. Why? It's the precondition of intelligibility. All intelligent atheists do this already. They reconcile themselves to the transcendent realm somewhere along the way. They already do it. So the only thing I'm doing is taking a dumbass atheist, a bitch spot, blog spot, a dumbass atheist, you the atheist, I'm telling you to examine your metaphysical priors, use the critical thinking you brag about all the time, use it actually correctly and precisely, to examine the things you actually think, take them out of the cold light of day and examine. You deconstructed once upon a time, correct? Okay, keep going. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Keep going. Why? You haven't finished yet. You haven't. So all I'm trying to do is take a dumbass atheist, a bitch spot, blog spot, dummy atheist, I'm nailing the Christian, no you're not, who's embarrassing himself and doesn't know he's doing it, and turn him into a philosophical atheist, someone like Joe. Cheerio, Craig. Another smashingly good video, I must say. Nailing it again then. Thanks, Joe. An erudite, intelligent atheist. Why? Joe is more ally than opponent. Philosophical atheists are more ally than opponent, especially if they consider them philosopher first. They're more allied to me than opponent. Now, as I've already said, There are 4 people who have influenced me most in this space in the last 2 years, by far. And they're all atheists/agnostics. Carlo Rovelli, John Vervaeke, Bernardo Castro, Philip Goff. They're all really good philosophers. Carlo Rovelli, Donald Hoffman, John Vervaeke, Bernardo Castro, Philip Goff. Is that 4 or 5? It's throwing me. It's either 4 or 5. They're all really good philosophers. Philip Goff, for example, is a really good philosopher. And they all do metaphysics. For a while, metaphysics was poo-pooed. We don't do that. We're scientists. We're too smart for that. We're so smart for that speculation. It's not speculation. It's absolutely necessary. Why? Because it makes coherent sense of the world. Without metaphysics, a pen is just a set of properties. You say, so that person's got a good personality. We all know what you're talking about, right? We are metaphysically ascribing a something. We are collectively, taking all these things about somebody, and we are ascribing a metaphysic to it. Why? So we all know what we're talking about. Other than that, we couldn't function coherent. We can't make sense. A lot of times, atheists, the huge chunk of the atheist community, I'd say 50 to 70%, the reason why they say these cuckoo clock freaking tropes, there are 2 types of atheist tropes, intelligent and precise ones that actually make sense within context, and then there's ones that are from cuckoo land. They don't make any sense at all. Atheism isn't a belief. What is that supposed to mean? It's not. No, it's not. What does that mean? It's the cuckoo land. And they don't know because they don't do metaphysics or philosophy. That's been the underlying philosophy of the scientific community. They think they're being smart. Atheists sometimes think they're being smart by being too literal-minded. You're not being smart. You're being dumb on purpose. So once upon a time, I asked 4 or 5 years ago, I was talking to a debate me bro, clownish type of atheist. And I said something along the lines, well, in your heart, you know it's true. Katie goes, a heart is just a valve that pumps blood to your ventricles. Yeah, that's literally what a heart is, okay? But we all understand what we metaphorically mean by heart in that context. So he wasn't being smart, he was just being too literal-minded, actually really being dumb. You get it now? You can't not do metaphysics. You can't. That's what scientists are starting to now figure out. They're saying, there was the whole subtext of that Sabina Hassenfelder, Bernardo Castro video that I analyzed. And go watch that video. Really slam dunk of a video, if I do say so myself. Really great, really good points. Really fun and entertaining at the same time. Joe, slam dunk of a video, Craig. Smashingly good, Craig. Really, really enjoyed that one. Quality work. Cheerio. See? All I'm trying to do is take the dumbass atheist bitch spot, blog spot. You're so dumb. Where's the evidence for you? I didn't hear any evidence in any of all of this, or error, all of this mumbo jumbo, all of this word salad. I didn't hear one shred of evidence. One shred. That's my Aaron Ra imitation. Pretty good, Craig. Thanks. Cheerio, Craig. Especially good imitation. Thanks, Joe. This is getting weird, Craig. Yeah, I understand that. This is getting a little weird, Craig. Yeah. Are you sure you're okay? Ask my wife. She'll vouch for my sanity, I promise. No, she'll go, no, you're freaking crazy. Help me. I live with this freaking clown every day. Please help me. He does crap like this for 2 hours on end. I swear to God, I've already mentioned that. My wife will say to me 50 times a day, what on earth are you babbling about? So, anyways, I thought it was, I'm really honest and thought all of that was funny. If you play it back slowly, piece it together, and you're me, it was funny. What was I even talking about? I lost my train of thought. So, okay, Joe, erudite, intelligent, sophisticated, polished, too thick, Craig. You're pouring on too thick, Craig. Why don't you just? No, I won't say it. I was going to make a really just off-color joke at that point, and I won't do it. I won't go there. So, the only thing I'm trying to do is get the dumbass atheist to be a philosophical atheist. If it's a philosophical atheist, they're more allied to me than opponent. Let's take John Vervaeke as the paradigmatic example. That guy's more allied to me than opponent. He's way more like me than he is like Aaron Ra. Way more. And it wouldn't surprise me if he becomes a theist in the next 2 years. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Granted, it'd be a weird one. Be a really weird one. Be like, I'm a secular neo-pagan ritualist or something like really out there that makes some sort of sense, but it wouldn't surprise me the slightest. How does he reconcile himself to the fact that he doesn't believe in God? He calls himself a Neoplatonist. Neoplatonism kind of catch-all for nominalism. I ascribe some reality with certain qualifiers and certain preconditions to the transcendent realm. Why? Because the precondition of intelligibility. Slam dunk. It's a slam dunk. It doesn't sound like a slam dunk because I ranted a little in this video and I sidetracked and I made stupid jokes. Didn't sing any songs yet, but the morning's still young. I better shut up before I ruin the great video. It was a great video, guys. Just trust me. It's a great video, Craig. Joe, how was the video? Smashingly good, Craig. Another slam dunk, Chideo. A little bit all over the place, but toodles. So it is, if you did not quite piece it together from this video because I got a little started having a little too much fun, it's a slam dunk. There are two versions of the pre-supper argument. This is why I've gone pre-supper butthole. There are two versions of the argument. The J. Dyer version, which is too ambitious. If you scale back the J. Dyer version and just take the pristine logic underneath it, then you have a slam dunk of an argument. But it's not an argument for the existence of God. It is only getting an atheist to move an atheist from dumbass atheist to philosophical atheist. And that's all it intends to do. It's to get you to think, take your metaphysical a priori assumptions out in the cold light of day and examine them. Are these robust and defensible? Do they make sense? Are they coherent? Can I justify them? That's it. That's what kind of technically what dumbass Dawkins is doing, something like some sort of weird freaking messed up version of that. I mean, he does do that, right? He does go like, well, how do you justify your worldview? But there's a lot of problems with this version of it. First of all, he never listens to the answer, and he doesn't let the person answer, and he doesn't let them say, I don't know. I don't know is a perfectly legitimate answer. Sometimes you haven't thought about it. So if I ask you what's your philosophy of math, a lot of you go, I don't know. I had to have one coming into the video. I thought it was just watching the video. Are you a nominalist, a Platonist, fictionalist? 2 out of the 3 of those are coherent, nominalist, Platonist. And 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Maybe I could talk all night, but that ain't getting us nowhere. The snow is really piling up outside. There's nothing left inside of me. And maybe we could talk all night. That'll never change the way that I feel. Actually that song is underrated. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That's why I brought it up. The reason why I kept going is that sounded good to me, actually. I didn't think I could really sing that song. That sounded all right, I think. Maybe, no? Meatloaf is a tiny bit underrated. I went to see him in concert once. I won't go down that. So 2 out of 3 of the mathematical philosophy of math precepts are legitimate. Platonic, nominalist. Those make sense. Fictional don't make any sense. Incoherent position. You can't possibly do science as a mathematical fictionalist. That's why most physicists are Platonists. I'm not saying you have to be a Platonist, you can be a nominalist. Most physicists, or Penrose is Platonist. They think mathematics is discovered. Okay, how do they reconcile? If you ask enough penetrating questions, I'm not saying that is a theist, but it's close in spirit to theism. That's the point. When Penrose was debating William Lane Craig, okay, William Lane Craig could have won the debate from day one without debating. But then he tried to shoehorn everything into an argument for God and moves everything too far. Penrose offered right at the beginning his worldview, pretty coherent and pretty consistent with my worldview. And actually, made a lot of sense to me. And you didn't need to debate him at all past that point. Why? Because that's the only thing I'm trying to get somebody to. Philosophically, he calls himself an atheist or an agnostic, right? Philosophical atheist. Robust justifications for their worldview. And when you ask them, these are the interesting questions about life. He had 3 criteria, forget what they were. But he's a mathematical Platonist, realist. He thinks math is discovered. Most physicists are Platonists, by the way. Fictionalist is not a coherent position. It's a coherent position if you don't do science and you don't actually use math. But it's been proven wrong by Gödel's incompleteness theorem, so it shouldn't be an option. The reason why some atheists use it as an option is because it's technically speaking the most consistent with atheism. Everything that denies the reality of anything that isn't material is really consistent with atheism. Do you get it now? Why? Because it can't be empirically verified for. How many times do atheists ask you, got any evidence? Got any evidence? Aaron Ross shouted that right now. And all this word sound crap. I didn't hear one shred of evidence. Okay, what do they mean? Empirical. Not everything is subject. Not everything reveals itself, not everything can be empirically verified for. Some things you have to actually presuppose. Why? Because of the preconditions of intelligibility. Get it? The logic is pristine, guys. Irrefutable. You can try to refute me, but you won't win. Matt Dillahunty is the better debater than you, whoever's listening to me. Okay, and he already agreed, in principle, to the scaled-back version of the argument. That's why I says slam dunk. He already agreed to it. Jay Dyer didn't win the debate because instead of taking the victory and going, yeah, we won, you said what? I said the laws of logic exist, they're immaterial, inviolate, transcendent. Okay, he's already ascribing some reality to the transcendent realm. That isn't fairies and goblins and stupid things that only theists believe. Do you get it now? He's ascribing some reality to the transcendent realm with certain pre-qualifiers. Why is he doing that? Because it is the precondition of intelligibility. So he's admitting, what? You theists are smart. You theists sure know what you're talking about. Do you get it now? You don't get it. Okay, it's my fault. It's my fault if you don't get it. This video was a mess, Craig. I understand that. The video's all over the place. Singing, all of a sudden you start singing freaking Meatloaf. What kind of stupid video is this? Okay, I understand. This one was even a little bit weird, even by the standards of a Craig Reed video. This one was a little bit random. I get that. I can't help it. It's improv. Once upon a time, I was in improv troops. I guess you could get that now from my videos. And the deal in improv is you go with it. When you get the impulse, you go. That's why it works. You never deny. You never negate. If somebody says, one time I was in the improv. I'll give you the perfect example. You do a freeze game and you freeze and then you whatever position you're in, you pretend that something's. So I'm froze and I go, come on, Hugo, it's okay. My pet elephant, Hugo. The girls start going, that's not an elephant, it's a coat. Okay, the skit's over. That's not an elephant, it's a scope. It's a coat. You can't have a funny skit past that point. So they teach you, they drill it into you, never negate. If the guy says this is an elephant, you work with it. The more outlandish and weird the thing you come up with, the better. Why? Because the funnier territory. My pet elephant. Oh, wow, look at what he's doing right now, all over my couch. You see, you just roll with it. You never negate. If you negate, the skit ends. If you just roll with it, your pet elephant, and then you just plug it into something, you automatically start thinking of funny, weird stuff that you can associate with an elephant, right? Of course, the one in mine was potty humor. That was my calling card back then. Well, look at what he just did on your couch. Oh my God, get that elephant out of the house. That's probably what I would have done. You get it? They teach you, they drill that into you when you do improv. If I took improv classes, then I was in an improv troupe. I was good. I wasn't great. I wasn't the best. I was second best. Second or third best. I was good. I wasn't the best. I forget who was, a couple people. There was one kid who was freaking off the charts in the class. He was from another planet. I swear to God, he was the most brilliant kid I've ever experienced. He was from another planet. We think of things that were conventional and funny, and like my calling card was I'd always go there. I'd always say the outrageous thing that nobody else would say. So I was like South Park. Who let South Park in here? That was me. I don't always say like I'd always go there. I'd always say the thing that you, like the elephant, always do the potty joke, always go for the cheap laugh. It was fun, whatever. This kid was from outer space. He'd always think of I swear to God, I couldn't even think how his brain was working. How would he even think of that? Blow your mind. He'd literally blow your mind because he was so creative, so innovative, come up with things that you couldn't even fathom how his brain could function like that. So he was the best. He was the best I've ever seen. And I don't know, he was in the class and disappeared. Don't know if he ever became a comedian, don't know whatever happened to him past that class. He was actually a gay kid, looked like Kurt Cobain. Looked very similar to Kurt Cobain, and leather jacket, super talented. But anyways, so I'll wrap it up. I meant the video was a little all over the place, but it's Craig Reed video. What do you want? It's a slam dunk of an argument, guys. I'm going to go into it in videos to come. It's slam dunk, but the robust version of the ambitious version of the argument doesn't quite work. No, God is not necessarily the precondition of intelligibility, but certain transcendent categories are. That was the whole point of Kantianism. It was a refutation of naive empiricism. It's the whole point. The reason why it's influential as Kant was, K-A-N-T, Kant was, he would have been a lot more influential if he wasn't so notoriously hard to understand. There's a lot of things he did that made him less influential, that made his influence less. Because, like, technically speaking, he was doing a refutation of idealism, which is weird, and then he goes and calls himself a transcendental idealist, huh? What? It's just a lot of weird stuff that made him nowhere near as influential as he could have been. So that's just another little aside, just a little nugget of information. But the logic of the Kantian transcendental argument is robust. It's irrefutable. X is a necessary precondition of Y therefore X. And if you scale it down to just precondition of intelligibility and just use math and logic, then it's pristine logic, irrefutable. It doesn't get you to God. It doesn't get you to a God belief. It just enables you to do science correctly, or enables you to think clearly and correctly. You have to construct your metaphysical a priori assumptions. You have to know what they are. You have to construct them in order to be a coherent person. Why? Because your brain smuggles them in automatically if you don't do it. So when Bernardo Kastrup was debating Sabina Hassenfelder, and they both agreed in principle that science is agnostic on what things in fact are, agnostic on metaphysics, agnostic on philosophy. Okay, science is about building models to predict outcomes. So she says, I don't do that. That is philosophy. He was accusing her of smuggling in metaphysics. He was correct. Why? Because you do it automatically. There's a whole truckload of metaphysical a priori associations that have been smuggled into the 20th century scientists. And that's what threw them about quantum mechanics. That's why I started with quantum mechanics. Why? It's not all that trippy and mysterious. It just shatters the paradigm they started with. And they refuse to acknowledge that 100 years after the fact. It's dead. Physicalism is dead. Why? It cannot be reconciled with quantum mechanics at all. Period. End of discussion. Can't be. If you believe, you can try to debate me. I'd love to see you debate me, bro. Okay, fine. Let's see your cogent rebuttal. You suck. It's not cogent. Okay, but true. It's true though, Craig. Okay, fine. Your videos suck. Okay, fair point, but it's not a cogent rebuttal though. But it's true. You suck. All right, fine. Debate me, bro. Debate me. I said Stephanie should kick your ass. I'll kill you. I don't kill you yet, but once I do, look out. Look out. I'll shred you. Mo. Yeah, that's right. You got it, SJ. No, you nailed them. So, anyways, with that is another Craig Reed video, and I will wrap it up. Let's see, 42 minutes, not terrible. I start to have fun, I start to ramble. That's why I do the rambling. It's enjoyable. It's the fun part of the video. The thing that I start the video to say, I get bored of that after a while and start talking about other things. So there you have it. Another slam dunk of a video, if I do say so myself. With that, the mass is ended. Go in peace. Amen.